Welcome to Canucks After Dark. Here are your hosts, Parker Hallowell and Clay Emo.
Good evening, Vancouver, and welcome to Canucks After Dark after a Canucks win over their bitter rivals, the Seattle Kraken, who they have never lost a game to at this point. A big 3-0 victory, or they're 3-0 in a 5-2 victory, I should say. As always, joined just moments from being at that game, I'm joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are you doing today, Clay?
Parker, I am great, as you can imagine, and I appreciate you being a man of many talents, multitasking, jumping from your own show to this show. I'll do my best, Thomas Drance, Jeff Patterson, with my eye in the sky, firsthand account of what I saw in the arena. But I'm in a good mood, as I'm sure you are. It was a good win that the Canucks, this is a game that the Canucks should have won, and they did.
Yeah, it was a dominant performance by any metric. Shots on goal, 46-27. Expected goals were basically 5-2 on the nose. So the Canucks just outplayed the Kraken, and it's a team that they should beat. They need to beat basically every time they play them, because that is not the best team out there at this point. But we do have some stuff to talk about. I don't have a bunch of news lined up, so I'm going to rely on you a little bit, because I've been a little bit busy over the last couple of hours. But typically we start with going over the last week of Canucks action. So why don't we kick that off here?
Sounds great to me. And by the way, I presume the mood in your post game was pretty good.
It was, yeah. There wasn't a lot to be down on in that game. Genuinely, I had a couple of things on Horvat taking 2 penalties, which I didn't like, to be honest. And that first power play that the Canucks had was absolutely atrocious. So let's start with this game, because we just watched it. It just happened.
It's fresh.
Canucks take down the Kraken 5-2. I just talked about it at length, but I want to hear your thoughts on this game. What's your sort of breakdown?
Yeah, actually, this is kind of cool. I get to do this because I do watch your post games, but obviously today I was driving trying to get here. Yeah, we could agree. Who knows what happens? Obviously, the fourth line was so good, and Lammikko doing his best Wayne Gretzky impression by dishing from behind the net on the Mott goal, the Travis Hamonic goal. Who would have seen that coming? By the way, did you mention the whole tweet, or the fact that was basically the guys that we traded, Juolevi, Gaudette, and Thomas Vanek for? That was the line, basically.
Yeah, I did touch on that a little bit. Just the fact that both of those trades were fantastic, how they've worked out for that one line specifically.
Awesome. So I love to play the fourth line. Even though Garland was held off the score sheet, to me, he was very noticeable. The way he was dancing and the way he was controlling play, that whole line, that new top line of Miller with Garland and Pearson. You know, I thought the Pettersson line was fine. They weren't the best ever, but they produced that goal by Podkolzin. I actually thought the only line that struggled was the Horvat, Dickinson, and Besser line. And Horvat does get his goal on the power play at the start of the third, but to me, they were the least noticeable. But that's okay. If you're not noticeable, if other lines are stepping up, like our fourth line, then and against a poor team, let's be honest, I think that's okay. So those were some of my. Demko was fine, a nice bounce back game after Saturday, and the crowd was into it. And overall, it was a good night at the arena for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of the lines. That Horvat, Besser line and Dickinson were basically unnoticeable in this game. And I was sort of talking about how, to me, Besser is like a great complementary piece, right? You put him out there with a couple of playmakers, and he is an excellent second threat. Right? If he's out there with Pettersson and Miller, he's basically the third threat, and that is an excellent piece to have. But when Horvat's playing sort of in this way that he's been playing the last few weeks, where he's just not really being effective, not really the difference maker that we've seen in the past, and Jason Dickinson, who we've talked about, really isn't the Jason Dickinson that we were sold. I don't think. And I think we could have seen from the start that line might not have worked out the way they had hoped. But the other lines, Pettersson is looking great. That Mott, Lammikko, Highmore line is so powerful. They've been playing so well together. But all around, I think only one real down line in that game.
Yeah. And what do you think of the blue line overall?
It was fine. Tyler Myers had that terrible 2-on-1
I think I can play a 2-on-1 better than that, man. And I don't know how to play hockey.
I think if you just lie flat, you're in a better spot than what Myers did. You just got to keep up with the guy coming in, right? And he let him get past him. It wasn't great.
Oh.
Other than that, Tyler Myers is great. Like genuinely, he had one bad shift and he had a great other 20 minutes on the night. Travis Hamonic, I genuinely didn't notice tonight other than his 2 chances where he almost scored. He did get the belt though. Apparently I just saw the tweet was posted about a minute ago. So I thought it would go to Mott. That seemed like a gimme. But they went the other way. And the rest of the guys were fine. Quinn Hughes is Quinn Hughes, and he was fantastic. And I think he had 5 shots on goal tonight. I think everyone sort of did their job, in my opinion.
Right. Do we know, actually, Parker, I'm glad you brought that up. Do we know who Hamonic got the belt from? Because we were missing one game, right? Lamico got the first game, and then they won again.
They won on the road, though, didn't they?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it's only at home.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was still, I think it was still Lamico at the belt. So yeah, now it is Travis Hamonic. I don't know why I didn't go to Tyler Mott. One other thing I also noticed from this game, and I sort of mentioned it on my post game, was I mean, you see the Canucks have 46 shots, the Kraken have 27. The blocked shots were surprising to me. Seattle blocked 8 shots, Vancouver blocked 20.
Wow.
So shot attempts weren't that far off. It was 66 to 53, I think.
Okay.
Which normally, they'd average, a certain percentage of shots usually misses or gets blocked. And so that would usually be like a 6 or 7 shot difference. But the difference maker here, Canucks just getting in shooting lanes, preventing things from getting through to Demko. Only had to make 25 stops on the night, which, like you said, a great bounce back for him because he really needed it.
Yeah. I'm really glad you brought up, Parker, the total shots, because I went with my season ticket partner, Mike, and we looked at the shot clock, and it was something like 30 to whatever, 15 or 30 to 18. But for the first half of the game, I don't know if you'd agree with me, it didn't feel like the Canucks were dominating. In fact, because they were losing for a lot of the first period, or at least some of it, it felt like a very even game. And it wasn't until the second half of the game where the Canucks really started to assert themselves, I thought.
I think I agree that it felt even. And I was kind of surprised. I looked at natural stat trick, and I expected like the second period is going to be a big gap. The third period is going to be probably pretty even. According to natural stat trick, it was pretty one-sided.
Even
in the first. 71% expected goals for the Canucks in the first, 82 in the second, and 64 in the third. So Canucks won every period analytically. High danger chances were 6-3 in favor of Vancouver in the first period. Which was, I guess, part of the big difference maker. And I think the third period, the reason they had more expected goals is because empty netters, it's just one, like it just shoots up. So I think if they take that Pearson off the board, I think Seattle had the edge there in the third, but that's score effects mainly.
Sure. Yeah. And I would love to bounce back to, I never really thought about the 2 Horvat minors. Now, they didn't score on them because we were too busy giving up the shorthanded goal, right? As opposed to any power play goals. Yeah.
Penalty kill went 4 for 4. That's a plus. And I mean, last game we saw that penalty kill drop below the 70% mark again. And now I must have crept back up, I would imagine. So that's a small victory in this one.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to touch on, there's so many things, is Lamico giving the belt to Hamonic. What was interesting is Boudreau, before the game today, was talking about why he put Hughes and Hamonic together, as opposed to Hughes and Schenn, and then you have Hunt and Schenn as your third pairing. And he said that Hamonic can be a top 4 guy, but he needs to start playing like it and given the opportunity to do so. So I'm not saying that he told Lamico to give him the belt, but I think Boudreau really likes Hamonic and really wants him to succeed. So I guess that's a positive overall, even though like you said, aside from the goal, he wasn't very noticeable, was he?
Yeah, Hamonic's been a guy where, I mean, look, he's been behind the 8 ball this year, right?
Yeah.
Like everything that's gone on, he has every reason to not be performing great. I don't think he has been great until tonight. He was very solid. And again, I wasn't too honed in on him. Like I wasn't focusing on him for the most part. I was watching the game fairly casually tonight. But yeah, I think, I think he was absolutely fine. And to get the belt means that the team saw something in him that maybe I didn't. And that's good enough for me.
Awesome. So overall, I'm glad you saw a good game as casually as you watched it. I'm glad you had a good post-game show. It was fun in the arena. And thank you for accommodating me. And now there's just like normal, except I'm in a my very stale office background tonight. As you
Yes,
can
it's
tell.
a bit of a void behind you. We get the edge of a picture frame though, so that's a little bit of excitement for us.
Thank you.
Do we want to talk about the two other games from this week?
Yeah, a little bit, sure.
All right, we are going to talk a very small amount about the game on Saturday. Ducks 7, Canucks 4. I didn't do a post game after this one.
Yeah, we were texting each other in the third. I remember.
Yeah, you're like, "Are you doing one today?" I'm like, "Nope." I didn't watch the third period of this game. Apparently, it was the only really interesting one. It was. Canucks allowed 5 goals early, and it's something that they've done now twice in the last little while. Right? They did it against the Islanders last week. They did it against the Ducks this week. Two teams that aren't like crazy good offensively, right? I mean, where does Anaheim rank in goals? 14th, right? It's not like they're an elite goal scoring team.
No.
And the Islanders are the worst goal scoring team in the NHL at 110 goals in 45 games this year. And a lot of those are from that game against the Canucks that they had. So I don't have much to really touch on this game. I did take notes during it. I don't think I have them open anymore. I took notes up until the end of the second period. I had one minus, and that was that the Canucks are now at a league leading 14 games this season where they have allowed multiple power play goals, which is good job, guys. 14
we don't
out
have
of 50 games where they've allowed multiple power play goals.
We don't have to say too much about this game, but I will say this, Parker, and I don't blame you for not streaming that night. Being at the arena, it was so disappointing because not only 100% capacity, the fans were just waiting for something good to happen. They wanted to cheer, but we knew went in this game 3 points behind Anaheim with a game in hand. We win that. We're basically tied with them with a game in hand. So everything was set up. Even, I know you can't look at it this way, even the next day on Sunday night, the 3 teams that we're battling with, they all lose in the playoff. So this was a really, really good opportunity. So for the Canucks to come out so flat, maybe bad luck, but also bad play. It was frustrating. It was maddening is the word I used.
Yeah, this was a game that saw, at least for the Athletic, their playoff odds dropped from 10% to 6. And you have to think if they had won, it probably went up to like 12 or 13.
Yes.
And then those 3 losses after that from those other teams would have probably got the Canucks right back in it. Now, I didn't check where they were at this morning. I do want to pull it up because I have the link here.
Nice.
The Canucks before coming in today were at 6% still. The Ducks were at 19. I imagine this win, the Canucks were projected to win this game. What percent of the time? 64% of the time per that same model. So it'll move their odds up a little bit, but I mean, we're talking probably in the 7-8% range. Not like they're on the edge of breaking out or anything.
Exactly. I love what you said there because we've talked about this before. It's one thing to win 2 here, then lose 1 here, win 1, lose 2. That's not going to get you anywhere. They have to basically win a few in a row or at least 2 out of 3, but very consistently.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else with this? Anything you want to talk about this actual game?
The Kyle Burrows hit kind of sucked. How he got hurt. Dollywall said broken ribs, and that happened in the second shift of the game. The first shift of the game, Burrows actually hit the net and went off its moorings, and then the second shift right after it, he gets plowed in the boards by Delorier, then who goes on and scores 2 goals. So to literally add insult to injury. But that's too bad. Burrows was having a decent season, especially for a third pairing guy, and it's really too bad.
Yeah, he was found money basically. A player who wasn't Remember the Canucks signed a bunch of defensive depth, hoping some people might break through. Right, I think we talked about this back in August. We were like, there's going to be. They went out, they signed a bunch of 7-8 level guys, and are hoping a couple of them will graduate to a 5-6. And Burrows was one of those guys, and he was someone who, like, trade talks were actually being rumored, right? Like, hey, teams might be interested in throwing a late round pick the Canucks way to have this guy for a playoff run, even as a 26-year-old rookie. And now he's out for likely the next 2 months, which is basically the rest of the season, right? The Canucks play, I think, up to the in the 20s of April. So basically up till right before May. So we might see him a couple times for the end of the season, but I mean, I imagine at that point, if the Canucks are out of it, why bother pushing him back? Right. So, it's unfortunate. Some positives from this game though, some sweet goals at least, right? We have the vintage Pettersson shot from his spot on the power play that, it's good when it's a Pettersson slap shot that doesn't even touch the netting. It's just bar straight down, and
so
it
good.
doesn't have enough forward momentum to hit the back of the net. That Connor Garland backhand was insane.
Yep.
So a couple of nice goals, but basically that was it.
Yeah, and one last thing, because you didn't see the third, I'm not sure you ever saw there was a potential that Ekman Larsson would have got hurt. That would have been so bad for this team.
I heard about that.
Yeah, he got rubbed out on the boards. It looked like he was favoring one of his left leg, but obviously he played a full game today. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Did he play full minutes tonight?
I'm not sure actually. I noticed him.
I had it up, and I know no one was really that high in minutes except Hughes.
Okay.
OEL played 18 minutes, so on the lower end for him, but the Canucks were leading going into the third and throughout the third, right? They're up 4-2 basically for the entire third period. So they might have just been rolling lines a little bit more. Brad Hunt, lowest minute man was 16 minutes. So it was all pretty even. Hughes was just under 26. Tyler Myers, 21 minutes, right? They weren't pushing anyone too hard tonight.
Gotcha. Quickly, Parker, this is just for Shannon in the chat. She's wondering what jersey I'm wearing.
The Pettersson 40. Nice.
Yeah, I know that wasn't probably good for the audio portion of our show, but
I gave some play-by-play.
Okay, thanks. Yes, that's true.
And before this game, the Canucks played earlier in the week. When was that? Was it Thursday they played? They took on the San Jose Sharks. And this is a game the Canucks got 2 points out of, but man, did they make it difficult.
I just realized we played all like water animals this week. We played the Sharks, then the Ducks, and then the Kraken.
Yeah, that is the West Coast.
Isn't that a good observation? That's why you pay me the big bucks, Parker.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was it was not a good game. The Canucks wanted the Sharks to take it. They gave them every opportunity to take it. And somehow they won, which was great.
Yeah, they had a good start to the game, and then yeah, that's true. Somehow they did. They gave that. Oh man, did you see? I can't remember. Did you break it down? The last goal that they allowed with half a second left. It was so bad.
Yeah. So Reimer goes to the bench with 45 seconds to go. And Travis Hamonic. So they're at center ice with like 7 seconds left, right? Like it's over. The Sharks come into the zone, some stuff goes on, and then basically Barabanov is coming in the face-off circle of Thatcher Demko's left.
Yeah.
Right. Coming in on his glove side. And Travis Hamonic, with 1 second on the clock, is playing the cross crease pass. Now, keep in mind, there's a bunch of bodies over there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Even if the puck goes over there, the odds of someone getting their stick on is not very high. All he needs to do is slide at this guy's legs and the puck basically at the same time, put the stick out there, but he plays the pass, allows Barabanov to walk in, and he scores with 0.6 seconds on the clock. It's things like that just shouldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have happened. Remember, Elias Pettersson shatters his stick with 4 minutes to play, all alone in the slot, prime opportunity. So many things that just didn't go the Canucks' way, and it's mostly by their own doing. And they gave up that point to San Jose, which probably won't be crucial, but still.
True. Yeah, they're one of the few teams below us. But even before that, great point about Hamonic. But Horvat inexplicably falling down or sliding at the blue line. Then you had Myers, no man's land. He thinks about checking. Then he sees the guy going. I don't know what he was doing. So it was just bad.
Yeah. And then Miller scored.
Yeah.
In overtime, which is great. But yeah, it was a mess of a game. This is a game where special teams was a disaster. The power play, they had 4 power plays. They had 3 shots on their first power play. They had 0 shots on all of the remainder, the last 3. Their penalty kill went 0 for 2. That brought them back below 70%. They were lifeless. It's like they came out, they were dominant in the first period. They outshot San Jose 15-4. They were all over them. They're up 2-0, and then they just sat back on their heels and didn't skate the rest of the game. And they let San Jose walk all over them and get back into that game. And the Canucks got lucky to come out of it with a win.
Yeah, so you can imagine, and you back it up a couple games that we've already recapped last week, but that they got smoked by the Islanders. Then they were lucky to escape with the win over Toronto in a very entertaining game. Then they get outplayed by San Jose, and then they get smoked by Anaheim. So we weren't really riding the best momentum coming into tonight's game.
Yeah. This game is one they needed, right? They needed sort of a tune-up game, especially going against Calgary on Thursday coming up here. That is going to be a recipe for disaster with how hot they are right now. But
They've won 10 in a row.
10 in a row as they beat the Jets today.
Oh,
they are on an absolute heater. Markstrom is unreal, and they have their work cut out for them in that one. Do we want to do previews, or do we want to do those at the end?
Let's save them. Let's save them. Yeah.
Other than that, I think that's kind of it for this game. Canucks get 2 points that they didn't deserve. They gave San Jose every chance to get back in it, and they won it anyways, which we take. So typically we talk sort of about the news of the week. There wasn't a lot this week. There was Kyle Burrows getting injured, and I didn't have a card for that, a banner, but yeah, Kyle Burrows out for 2 months, likely broken ribs. They haven't said anything officially, but that's what Rick Dollywall said, which is just unfortunate. We already touched on it. And then they almost lose Jack Rathbone, right? That was a big one. And my card says that it turns out that he's made of steel, because Jack Rathbone gets run from behind. Do you remember who it was?
Yeah, Colton Seaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seaver. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy
runs him from behind, enough for a 2-game suspension. Rathbone is down on the ice for I think 12 minutes before getting stretchered off. And that's one of those things that you see and you say, okay, well, hopefully he's back next season. Right. Yes. Like, cause this is one of those things that it's 12 minutes before the stretcher is a crazy amount of time, right? That's so much stabilization that needs to be done and all that stuff. And then it comes out that night, or maybe I think they tweeted it maybe the next morning. Yeah, Jack Rathbone's traveling with the team for our next game. He's fine. Yeah, he got discharged from the hospital that night. He's fine. And we'll see him next game, or like at least he'll travel with the team, which is crazy.
Wow. And then did you hear? And actually, Jasper just put it right in the chat. Then he gets then he gets called up by whatever team, and so he doesn't have to serve a suspension. How does that work?
Yeah, so he got suspended 2 games in the AHL, which means he cannot play in this team's next 2 AHL games. So he gets called up by the NHL team, and he'll I don't know if he's playing or he's just in the press box, but yeah, he'll be serving his suspension while in the NHL. Which is crazy that's allowed. You'd think that the NHL would be like, no, if you're suspended there, you're not playing here. Like that's kind of silly. I mean, even growing up for me, if I got suspended in a minor hockey game, I wasn't allowed to referee. Wow. Like that's like they were strict on something like that. But in the NHL, it's like, oh, you're suspended in that league. Come on, come play over here. It just seems.
How many times you get suspended, Parker?
Only for like the occasional game misconduct, and you can't play the next game.
You goon?
It was very rare. But yeah, no, really happy that Rathbone seems to be okay. I don't know if he played in their last game. I doubt it. You'd think they'd give him a couple off. I think they've won 6 in a row, I think, which is great in Abbotsford. But really happy that Rathbone's not seriously hurt.
Me too. I want to ask you about him in a second. About his chances playing for the big team. I showed my season ticket partner Mike. He hadn't seen the video. He just heard of it. And then when I rewatched it, I'm 0% excusing defending Seaver, but it looked like Rathbone jumped a bit.
A little bit.
Saw it. Yeah. But is that a natural thing?
It can be if you kind of feel it's coming at the last second, sort of a panic response,
right? And
you're just trying to absorb it, right?
Okay.
And you know, sometimes you think, oh, if I'm a little bit off the ice, I'm not getting sort of like pushed down. I have some more space or something like that. I've done it. It's a weird sort of just panic response. It's not usually a good response. But yeah, it's sort of the spur of the moment. I don't think it was really a strategy or anything.
Right. Okay. That's fair. So I want to, why is this important? Well, I want to tie it into the Canucks. So on the left side today, it was Ekman Larsson, Hughes, and Hunt. We know Burrows has played there. He could play on his offside. Do you think Rathbone will, and do you think he should get a call up by the end of this season?
Will he? If he's not hurt, I think he should.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been tearing it up, right? He's been putting up points. I think he had a 5-point game, right, last week. That like that's crazy for a defenseman. Even in the AHL is not an easy league, right?
Yep.
The AHL is a tough, grindery league, as we saw him get laid out a couple of nights ago. It's not easy to put up a bunch of points. And I totally think he deserves a shot. And also on that line, guys like Sheldon Dries, right? He's putting up a ton of points. And he's at 20 something goals, like 26 goals this year as a center in like 40 something games, like crazy good numbers. And he's a center, right? You could always use more centers. So, maybe we see some of those names down the line. I'm not a big fan of Brad Hunt. And I would much rather a guy like Rathbone. And I think from a coach's perspective, totally see why you'd rather have Brad Hunt in the lineup over Jack Rathbone, right? Probably more secure, less scary. But Jack Rathbone has that ability, even if he's playing 15 minutes a night, he can make some plays in that time. I think that's something the Canucks at times have sorely needed this year.
And I remember at the start of the year, I'll give you props here, that we were talking about, should Rathbone start this team, start the season on the team? And you were the one who said, I can't remember if it was a contract thing or a waiver thing, but you were the one who said, no, you watch, he'll be the one that's sent down. Do you remember that? It was one of the few
there was
preseason predictions we got right.
Because Levy was waiver eligible and he wasn't.
That's right.
Hunt was, and he was the only one that wasn't waiver eligible. So it made the most sense to send him down from an asset
no risk
management. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. No, I like him a lot. And, I don't worry. I know some people have said to me, don't you worry that you have two guys, like he's not the same as Hughes, but he's got a similar skill set. And I said, no, if your right side guy is a more kind of rough and tumble guy, like we have four of them, like Meyer, Shen, Pullman, and Hamonic, I'm fine with a very mobile left side guy. One of the two guys better be mobile.
Yeah. And also it's like, oh man, you already have one Quinn Hughes. You don't want another one.
No, right? We do.
Yeah. And it's like, you can say, okay, well, you already have five guys who are stay at home, not very good defensemen, like not very offensive defensemen. Don't you want some more of the other side? Right. Like you're allowed to have more than one skilled guy on the back end. You see it in Colorado, guys like Makar and Sam Girard and Bowen Byram, all getting some time there. Right. Like that's a dynamic, dangerous defense. And sure, it might cost you some goals the other way. But it's also going to net you some goals in the positive, right? Would you rather have Brad Hunt or Jack Rathbone on power play 2?
Rathbone.
Yeah. And it's not close. I don't know why Brad Hunt's out there to begin with. But yeah, I genuinely think Jack Rathbone would be a solid piece to have on the roster.
I agree. I can't wait. Did he play when you and I met for the first time and we went to see that Abbotsford, the training camp?
The training camp.
I mean, the Canucks training camp in Abbotsford.
Yeah.
No, what the heck did we watch?
Yeah, that was that Canucks training camp in Abbotsford.
Okay. Was Rathbone good? He was good that day, right?
Yeah, he was very good. It was him Lockwood. He was our favorite player. And Lockwood were my standouts, I think.
That's right.
What's Lockwood doing? Is he hurt? He was hurt for a time, wasn't he? He's got 20 points in 33 games. It's respectable. Happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other things that happened this week, the Canucks got back to 100% capacity, and we've had a couple games since then. And I thought we had already talked about it, but I don't think we have, because I think it got announced last Tuesday was the announcement.
Correct.
And we did our show Monday. So we've had a couple of games at 100% capacity, which is lovely to have back. Of course, the first one was a disaster against the Ducks. This one was a little bit better. You've been in attendance for both.
Yeah.
Nicer than the 9,000.
Yeah, it is. You can notice the difference right away. Everything from the warm up to the, to when the Canucks take the ice prior to the game, to the anthems, everything. And, today I was in my regular seats in 319, the ones that you sat in, and you could tell you could just visually, because where we are is you can just see the whole arena and it looks really good. Then actually I was in the Encore Lounge. I was up high on Saturday, and despite the result, as I mentioned, the crowd was into it. So you noticed it. That Toronto game was funny. I kind of told you, it felt like more than 9,000. It was certainly louder than 9,000, but you can't beat a full capacity arena. So I actually think Thursday nights can be absolutely nuts in there.
I remember, because I went to that Coyotes game 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And it was weird. It was weird being up there and having basically like the entire section next to you just empty. And it's like, it doesn't feel like I'm there I feel like it feels like a practice. Like I feel like I'm not like it's like not a public thing, right? It was a weird vibe. It's like what going to a game in like Arizona, I imagine, would be like.
Yeah.
But there'd still be more people here.
Yes. You and I should go to a game in Arizona next year. We should try it. We could double their attendance or something. It would be great.
Yeah, that would be good. So it's good that they're back at 100%. Obviously it is nice to see. Other news, other things that I want to talk about, and I think our title for this, if I remember correctly, do you know what I titled this?
No, I didn't get a chance to see the thumbnail. I'm gonna look right now.
So I said Pettersson is back. Special teams are still struggling. Okay. Our special teams are suffering. So let's start with the first one of those. Elias Pettersson. Coming into this game, he had 15 points in the last 14. He gets 2 more assists tonight. So his last 15 games, 8 goals, 9 assists for 17 points. He is above a point per game. That's like a 90-point pace, something like that. Obviously, look, it's 15 game sample size, but it's not like it's 15 games the Canucks have been putting up a ton of goals. He has genuinely been producing, and he just looks absolutely like himself again.
I agree with you completely. And 14 last 15, was it? You said 14 last 15? 15 last 14.
It's on your screen, isn't it?
Oh, well, see, I'm so focused. Actually, okay, spoiler alert. I actually look at my camera and not at my screen. So it looks
That's
like
fair.
I'm actually looking. Yeah. No. Okay, 15. Good. And then, of course, I think he had, coming in tonight, he had 8 points in his last 5. So whatever way you want to slice it, we aren't hearing anyone saying, "Oh, what's wrong with him?" or whatever. It truly was a slow start, and people that were, granted, we kind of got impatient as 10 games became 20 games, became 30 games. But ever since the 30 game mark, he's been actually quite good.
I'm just happy that all the times I said, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. He'll be back. He'll be fine. It's looking like I was right, which is nice.
So it's interesting when he plays with Podkolzin and Höglander, and it's interesting. Boudreau said today that he wants them to find chemistry on the ice because off the ice, he said they're very close, those 3 guys, which makes sense. They kind of hang around, and especially the 2 Swedes. But who do you think is best suited to play with Petey? Because he's played with everyone basically this season.
Yeah, I really like the idea of Podkolzin and Höglander. Höglander's not playing as well as he did last year.
Right.
I think if we had Höglander if this is like a little sophomore slump, and look, the entire team is in one of those right now. If we have a Höglander who's like a 40 to 50 point player, which I think is hopefully around where he might be, right? Maybe around the 40 point mark. Yeah. I think that Höglander playing with Pettersson is a really solid piece. And Podkolzin similarly. Podkolzin has so much drive, and he's so good with the puck, at least like in tight, like in the corners, on the boards. And the second he loses a battle, he's skating and trying to get the puck back.
Yes.
I think that's a really good style of player to have with Pettersson. I think their hockey IQs are lower than Pettersson's. But if that's something that they work on, and like you said, if they develop chemistry, they know where each other are on the ice. And if they can develop as a squad for a while, if that is a group that they want to continue to go with, I could see that being a really solid line. However, you can also say, well, you should put them with better players, right? Like Miller and Besser, which again, I'm also totally fine with. I think Pettersson can work with anyone. It's just except Jason Dickinson. It's just whether or not he is. It's whether or not he's on, and right now he is.
Is it safe to say that PD is much better in the middle than on the wing?
He's much more valuable in the middle. I don't know if he's. I mean, we saw he had that little bit of a comeback when he came back on the wing because he was struggling all year. That he had a couple games in the wing that he was okay, and then that fell off again.
Right.
It is so different playing center than it is playing wing. Playing wing, you're a lot less impactful on the game, right? As a center, you sort of lead the charge. You're wherever the puck is sort of your job. As a winger, puck's in your zone, you're covering your D-man. You might come down for support in the offensive zone. You're sort of on your boards or you're in front of the net, right? As a center, you're a support. You have to go. You have to help everywhere on the ice. You're skating more. It's harder work. But if you are better than most of the people on the ice, then you're going to be better at center because you're impacting the game more.
Right.
So I think when you have a player who, is in a bit of a slump, the wing maybe makes some sense. But if you're clicking at, a 70 to 90 point pace, having that guy in the middle, if he is smart enough to play center and determined enough to play center, is much more valuable.
Yeah, I love what you said there. And even just you think of who the star players are, generally they're centers, generally. And then you have some good wingers, but you need guys on the wing that can really fly too. Speed isn't the only thing, but I just picture those games where Petey was on Horvat's side on his wing and with Horvat in the middle. And he wasn't as effective for sure. So I agree with you. And, so the bump then with Miller going into the middle today. So you have Miller, Petey, and Horvat is then Dickinson then moves back to the wing as opposed to at center. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enough said. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Jason Dickinson. It's so weird how he went from, this elite sort of shutdown defenseman or shutdown forward kind of guy. And just hasn't lived up to that. I'm actually curious on the analytics side. I'm going to pull up Jason Dickinson's player card here. So the Athletic does this thing where they estimate sort of what range every player is going to be in different stats, right? So this is Jason Dickinson's projected stats at the start of the year, right? 9 goals, 10 assists, right?
Okay.
Pretty reasonable. He's on pace right now for 5-5. So even that minimal offensive production he's expected to have, cut that in half. Where he's supposed to shine is defense, and his GSVA, which I think is like game score value added. It's a weird term, but it's sort of this way to quantify defense, right? Or offense, or like just quantify a style of play. So on defense, he was projected to be a positive 2.3, which would be in the 70 to 90th percentile.
So good.
So good. Yeah. And I think if I'm looking at the tracker around here, maybe like 75th percentile defensively. Right now he is hanging right around the 50th percentile defensively. So not great, right? Average defensive player. On the offensive side, he was projected to be minus 4.3. He's on pace for minus 10.4 on this same metric, which is in the bottom, 20% of the league. So he is well underperforming his projections for the year, which is not good, is what I will say.
Now, Boudreaux doesn't need us to defend him, but I do know he likes when he does move Dickinson to the wing. I notice he always puts him with Horvat because I guess he's saying Horvat is the most of the three between Miller, Petey, and Horvat. Horvat is maybe the most defensive minded. So he likes to use them aside from your fourth line. He likes to use them as a match. I wouldn't say shutdown, as a matchup pairing for sure.
Right. And I think that's fair. I think it's not doing Bo Horvat any favors though.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that, I'm not saying it's the reason he's playing bad. He's not playing well. I think that's more on him than it is on Dickinson. But we always see him with Bo Horvat sort of gets the short end of the stick on who he plays with, right? He plays sort of third fiddle to Miller and Pettersson. Miller and Pettersson, if they're not playing, unless they're playing together, if they're playing on separate lines, they're going to get the more offensively capable wingers, right? Whether it's Pettersson and Höglander, or Puckholz and Höglander, sorry, or if it's Besser and even Pearson or whoever you want to put up there, Tyler Mott would be nice with him, but that Mott, Lamico, Highmore line is so ingrained together that you don't want to split them up. So Horvat gets the scraps, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's Pearson, which again, I'm not the biggest Tanner Pearson fan, but
really?
But I like him more than Dickinson at this point. So I think that's I don't think Horvat's having any favors done, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I agree with you, Parker, that Horvat often doesn't get the best wingers, but prior to tonight, he did have a 3-game run with Miller and Besser. They didn't do much, but
again, right? Like he's gotten the occasional chance, not any prolonged runs.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. All right. So I said Pettersson was one of the topics. The other topic was special teams.
Oh.
So Pettersson was the fun topic of the night, and we had the game to talk about. That was kind of fun too. But let's dive into the special teams over the last little bit. Do you want to start power play or penalty kill? I'll let you choose. Pick your poison.
Well, actually, both were good tonight, but statistically, we're a tiny bit better on the power play. So let's start there. Let's start off in a good note.
All right, the Vancouver Canucks, who have the 17th ranked power play in the NHL, not bad, middle of the pack.
Yeah.
I think they have better personnel than that, but hey, middle of the pack. They have been struggling lately. Coming into this game, the stat was 2 for their last 14. And remember, we talked about that one. I think it was the Sharks game where they had 3 power plays in a row with 0 shots. So it has been a disaster. Tonight they go 1 for 4. So in their last 7 games, that takes them to 3 for 18, which
16?
is 17%. Yeah,
17%.
16 repeating. Which is, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's the way they've been playing, right? It's not just the numbers. The numbers aren't great. But it has been, tonight was better except for the first one, but it's been stagnant. They've been not getting anything going. It's never felt like they were on the cusp of a goal, really. I mean, even the one goal they scored tonight, right, was a quick play to Horvat, which was great, and they had been set up well. But it's not like they're dominating on the power play. And keep in mind, they got scored against while they were on the power play tonight as well. So that's not much better.
They should actually, not just for the Canucks, they should actually make shorthanded goals like make you lose like 5% or something, because it's so bad.
It should impact it somehow. Yeah.
So you mentioned the power play. I was listening to Vancast, and they were talking about how the Canucks have improved or not improved under Boudreau. And Thomas Drance was very adamant that the Canucks power play got worse under Boudreau. And then I went back at him very politely on Twitter, and I simply said, I know what you're saying, but technically, actually, it was only 17.4% under Green, and it's actually improved under Boudreau, his 25 games to 21.1. And he wrote back, he says, underlying profile has worsened, especially last 10 games. In what is generating shots, chances, attempt, it's been worse than the last 10 games than at any point in the season. And I don't disagree with that at all. And it was maddening tonight. We saw it where you have 5 very talented players individually, but they can't even get it over that thick blue line.
Yeah. And the big difference there, like you said, underlying stats have shown that lately they've been worse. And the real difference is the opposing goalie's save percentage has gone down, right? Like the Canucks shooting percentage has gone up, which isn't really a sustainable stat, right? That's a lot of luck based as you get to some of those. So, it's rough, and the eye test verifies that, right? Especially these last couple of games, they have just looked lost out there. And Quinn Hughes gets at the point, he'll play it over, and then someone will lose the puck, and it'll get cleared down, and suddenly there's 40 seconds left on the power play, and it's over, right? It's just in a bad state, and it's so weird to see when your unit is Hughes, Pettersson, Besser, Miller, and Horvat.
Yeah,
right. We are talking about 5 players who can score, right? Yeah. You have an excellent quarterback in Quinn Hughes, right? He's so composed. He's so good at putting the puck where it needs to be. You have JT Miller, who is, a top 20 scorer in the NHL right now, at least points wise. You have Pettersson, who has one of the most lethal one-timers in the game. You have Horvat, who's very good from that bumper spot. And then you have Besser out there, who he can shoot the puck too, right? It's a bunch of guys who, in theory, should be great. And it just still hasn't clicked yet. Yeah.
Individually, they're great. Once in a while, we'll see flashes. Petey's goal on Saturday, the one-timer from his spot. Tonight, Miller to Horvat, that cute little pass to the middle. When it works, and I get it, that's actually an underrated play, because Horvat does have to find that little seam. He's got to get open. It's not just a matter of just pass it to me. No, he's got to work to get open, and it's got to be a good pass. So I get all that. But Parker, we know that the power play is always the same thing. Once Hughes got it, Miller will come up and circle, and then he gives him an option, and then often Miller will then behind back pass it, and then we're in the same spot again. Pettersson's just standing there, Horvat's just standing there, Besser's just standing there. There's not any movement. And you look at the good power plays, they're at least making you think. They're at least making a defenseman make a decision.
Right. Yeah, it's very predictable because there's always 2 options, right? Wherever the puck is on the ice, there is 2 options, maybe 3, right? Hughes has the puck at the point. It's either going to Miller or it's going to Pettersson. Sometimes if Quinn Hughes gets the puck on the close to the boards, the third option, sometimes he'll try to walk the line and take a shot. Like he'll walk the middle, try to make people move and find an opening and take a shot. But if he's standing at the middle of the ice already, he's probably not going to shoot it. He usually moves to try to create some space. If it goes to Pettersson, it's either a one-timer or the puck's not where he wants it to be, and he plays it back to Hughes. That's basically it, right? He almost never goes down low.
That's a great point.
Back to Hughes. Miller does something similar. Sometimes he'll play it around down low, or he'll try to find Horvat on the bumper, or he will force something through that doesn't work. And then the puck is almost never down low, right?
Yeah.
Like very, very rarely. And that's kind of the entire Canucks power play. Like I don't really think I missed anything.
I would love to see Miller on his pass it down to Besser, right on his right wing, and Besser just come and jam and have Horvat just crash and just do something.
Yeah, change it up, right? Like again, it's a team like these teams watch film going into these games, right? They spend some time in the media room, and I'm sure the video coach shows the power play and says, "Hey, when this guy has it and it's this look, this is probably what's going to happen. Defend it like this, right?" And it's predictable. And it's static. If there's movement, suddenly, as let's say JT Miller skates from the corner up the wing. Well, now that's two different looks from one guy, right? It just creates more and more options, which hopefully creates more scoring chances.
So it's funny. We just spent 5 minutes complaining about power play, giggling, giving suggestions, and that is the better of our two special teams formations.
Yep. So the Canucks penalty kill, I wrote this before the game, and I said the Canucks penalty kill is below 70% again.
Right.
Now I just checked. This is still true. The Vancouver Canucks penalty kill right now is at 69.9%.
I knew you were going to say that. Oh.
So it is still technically below 70%.
Yeah.
And it has been not great lately. Tonight was good. Tonight was solid. But like I said, after that game against the Ducks the other night, that was their 14th game this season where they've allowed multiple power play goals against, which is the most in the NHL. How many? I can't see. I don't have it pulled up for how many they've allowed against, but how many total goals? I think I can pull it up here.
I think the answer is lots. Yeah.
Power play goals against per game. The Canucks are second in the NHL at 0.88. The Coyotes are at 0.9. The league average 16-17 about 0.6. So that's about every 3 games, basically, the Canucks give up an extra goal.
Yeah.
From their penalty kill compared to league average, not compared to the best. We're comparing to the best team in the NHL, the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're at 1. They allow 0.33 goals against per game on the power play. So they only get scored they only get a power play goal scored on once every 3 games, right?
Yeah.
So that would be it's a huge difference. It is a monumental difference when we're adding on this many goals against. Canucks have 46 power play goals against in 52 games. Like I said, by absolute value, it's the most in the NHL. Right. Arizona's just played a couple less games. And yeah, it's just been faltering lately. And I have so much trouble prescribing what the issue is with the penalty kill, because it feels like the shots that go in are worse than normal. Like it feels like Demko's way worse on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
But it also feels like they really struggle with the puck over the blue line at times. I don't really love the 1-1-2. To be honest, it feels like people are way too open. But again, lots of teams use it, so it's just my personal opinion. It just seems to be like a bunch of things that always go wrong.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I agree with you. I see 2 things, Parker. One of them is, and the Canucks are a decent face-off team, but for some reason they lose a lot of face-offs on the penalty kill. And
and you do have, when the face-offs in your own zone, you have to put your stick down first, right? Like there is an edge to the offensive team, but slightly. But go on.
But would you agree that's a 20 to 25 second difference right there if you don't win the face-off?
Oh yeah. If you win the face-off, you clear it. It's now they're coming in at 135, right? Yeah. Like it's a big difference.
There you go. So, and the other thing is, I'm not sure, and we saw a bit of it tonight on that 2-on-1. Myers, Hamnick, OEL, you could say Hughes, all of them, they're not the best at defending. Not I'm going to continue the sentence, not just defending, but they're not the great defending for whatever reason. Cross ice. I noticed it today, even against a bad Seattle team, they were basically cross passing it, crease passing at will. I don't know if they're just not. Maybe Myers takes too long to get up once he goes down. They're just not that good at defending down low. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, and again, if we compare it to the Canucks power play where everything sort of revolves up high, these other teams are able to play around, right?
Yeah.
They're able to have players shooting from the faceoff circle. That's something the Canucks
Yes.
don't really have, right? Like the only option from like inside the faceoff circle would be like Horvat on the bumper,
Mhm.
or if Miller stepped in, which he never does. But the Canucks sort of do allow that option, right? Because they're on this 1-1-2 where the
Yeah.
two are by the net.
Yeah.
And that creates a lot of room on the flanks, right?
Yeah.
And sort of down the wings to create some space, create some momentum, and try to have some movement.
Mhm.
But again, I don't know. I genuinely cannot tell you what the problem is with the Canucks penalty kill. If it was that easy, then they would have fixed it by now.
Yes.
It's just a mess.
Yeah. Special teams. There's a reason why the good teams have the best special teams units either way, because it's such an important, that's the difference maker in so many close games for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one now this is like the worst advanced analytics stat of all time, where you just add the power play and penalty kill percentage. If you brought this up in front of like genuine like hockey analysts, they would be like, this is the dumbest stat ever. But it can at least give you somewhat of
Yeah,
a picture, right?
We
And
do it
can
all the
tell you-
time. It's awesome.
yeah, like so let's do the math. 70 plus 19, right? It's 89%. That's less than 100. That's bad, right?
That's bad.
It means your special teams are a net negative.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a foolproof stat by any means. But it tells you that, I mean, when you have the worst penalty kill in the league and a mid-tier power play, those don't add up, right? It means that a league average team at 5-on-5 is going to get buried on those times, which is exactly what the Canucks are. Basically, an average 5v5 team that the special teams are losing them games, and it
Wow.
continues to be the case.
I was thinking, and I know we're going to have a lot of time up to the trade deadline, especially in the offseason, talking about the roster and the composition of the roster. I know you don't trade specifically to get a power play specialist or a penalty kill. It just comes with the players that you get. But you got to wonder if obviously new personnel are going to make a difference. Something's got to change. Something. I don't know what, but something.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if it's coaching, because the coaching didn't fix it, apparently. It is it's because that's the thing about like penalty kill is it's not very execution based, right? It's very systemic.
Yep.
And execution has something to do with it. But in theory, if they can figure out how to execute the system, if the system is good, it will work, right? It'll at least be average. So there's something amiss.
Amiss indeed.
But either way, let's do a quick preview, maybe.
Sure.
Thursday, Flames, 10 wins in a row. They don't play until Thursday, so they will be looking to make it 11 against the Canucks at Rogers Arena. The black skate is back. I think they'll be wearing a retro as well, which will be very fun, very cool.
And as we preview that, can you put Zach? I know a 12-year-old Zach, love his commitment and his loyalty, and his persistence. He's asked this about 4 times. He says, Parker and Clay, is there a reason why the flying skate is returning? Is it too cynical to say it's all about the money?
I think it's just fire. I think it's smart marketing. Everyone online wants to see it. Everyone thinks it's great. There's a reason they only do it a couple times a year, because it creates that little bit of hype for it, right? It makes that game more interesting. Genuinely, it's a Thursday night. Like it's a fairly, it's against one of the best teams in hockey right now, the hottest team in the league, 10 wins in a row, which sells itself. But that wasn't the case when they picked this game, right? Calgary was a good team, but not they weren't on the run that they're on right now. They might have been 20-13-6 instead of 30-13-6.
Sure.
So it does, it generates buzz, it creates conversation. That way, there'll be highlights from that game. Other people will see it on Sportsnet. They're like, man, that looks cool, and it just generates buzz. It's just marketing.
It's it's funny. They've said that it's probably going to be for only this one game for this season, but then there's rumors that that's going to become our alternate next year. Who knows? Which
I think is the right play. Currently, I think I like the current alternate, to be honest. The stick and rink with I wish it had some white trim on it. But I think I have one. I like it. I think it's a cool jersey, but it is so similar to the regular one, right? It's a different logo. It's the same colors, just in a different sort of scheme.
Right.
I think your third jersey should be fun, right?
Yeah.
You look at what the NBA does, where they're allowed to have these one-off jerseys for games, right?
Yeah.
You look at the Black History Month jersey the Canucks put out earlier this week. That thing's
those are
awesome.
good. Oh.
Like if they could wear that in a game, that would be sweet. I remember in the NBA a couple of years ago, Miami had these like super pastel-y, like Miami Vice jerseys that looked so awesome. And it's like I wish they did more of that, because they'd sell so many. The fact that like these Black History Month ones, if they were wearing them in a game and you could just buy them, you could just buy one in the in the team store, they'd sell a ton of them. It's weird to me that they don't.
Imagine the Canucks playing one game in those Lunar New Year red.
Those are sweet. And if they weren't $888 to buy, that would be great too. If I could I'd spend $250 on one.
Right. And I'm asking you very genuinely, did you know that 8 is a lucky number in Chinese? Okay, I just know that. Yes.
Well, I remember because they used to be $588 a couple of years ago. I remember I saw them like, that's crazy expensive. Like not $288, like a reasonable jersey price. And now the inflation's crazy, and you're going from $588 to $888. But
just wait till next decade, it'll be $8,888.
Yeah, really bring those up. So I guess preview for this game. I mean, it's going to be tough for the Canucks. And it's like I said, the hottest team in the NHL right now. They have Jacob Markstrom, who has 8 shutouts already this year. But that Demko's no slouch either, right? It's going to be 2 really good goalies. I could really see it being a pretty low scoring game.
Yeah.
Calgary, they have a lot of goals, but I mean, it's not like they're crazy out there, right? They're not Colorado. Colorado has almost 200 goals this year. They're averaging just under 4 per game, which is crazy. I could see it being a goaltending battle. And if you're going Demko against Markstrom, it's really anyone's game.
Yeah. And we always joke around. They have Markstrom, they have Tanev, and now they have a new forward that we get to see that we had for about, I think, 20 games total. So
something like that.
Yeah, we'll see how Toffoli does too. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun.
Get to see Tyler Toffoli back at Rogers Arena, which will be interesting.
That should be that should be good.
And then back-to-backs. Canucks play Sunday against the Rangers. So another 2-day break. They get the Friday, Saturday off, and then they go a little road trip to New York. They get the Rangers, and then they go over to New Jersey the following day as well. Maybe a good little scouting trip on Saturday or on Sunday here. Get to see some Rangers players. They get to see a certain Canucks player. Maybe we'll see if that heats things up.
Yeah, imagine they should just trade right before the game, and then they can just they're not going to do that. But
second intermission. Yeah, the Rangers are losing. The Rangers are losing going into the third, so they make the trade then, because and then Miller scores the winner. That would be that would be cool. Yeah, I know you can't do that, but what if he scored for both teams in the same game?
that would be record breaking for sure. Groundbreaking.
They should allow that. That'd be cool.
But yeah, Rangers are a fun team with Adam Fox and their crew. That's gonna be a fun game. That should be good.
Absolutely, they've been very good this year, right?
Yes,
they've been. Their rebuild went way ahead of schedule. I mean, it helps when you have guys like Artemi Panarin saying, "I will only go to New York." And it helps when a guy like Adam Fox says, "I will only go to New York," and turns out to be a Calder winner in like his second year. That helps, right? Yeah. That really helps accelerate a rebuild. The Canucks didn't have that luxury, but they are doing well. And then they get the Devils on Monday night, who are the worst team in the Metro right now. 17 wins only this season. They've been struggling. A little bit of Hughes on Hughes though in this.
Yeah. So that's always intriguing. And the Devils do have some decent young players, but it's kind of interesting that the Canucks are playing them back to back, because you look at the Rangers in New Jersey and you could say, I'm guessing they're about in the same spot 4 years ago, but how well the Rangers have rebuilt compared to the Devils.
Yeah, the Devils have just sort of been down and out for a while. They had that whole Kovalchuk thing a few years ago, trying to get back into it, and that really didn't work. And they've just sort of been sputtering for a while. And they don't have, it's not like they have like you think like who are the stars on the Devils?
Yeah.
I don't get a lot coming to my mind, right? Like I get, you get Jack Hughes, and Heischer. I guess they have Dougie Hamilton now, don't they? Does he play for them?
Yeah.
He's great, but like they don't have a lot of stars really. Jimmy Vesey plays for the Devils. That'll be fun.
Watch him light us up.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Yeah, who does play? Who's good for them right now?
They have Subban.
Oh, just for
They
Brat, of course. Brat.
Yeah. They have Sharon Govich.
Mm-hmm.
Who's just an awesome name. Siegenthaler.
Ozaka apparently are trade
Yep.
interests. Yeah.
Yep, that could be interesting as well. So
This is a weird team, man.
Yeah. So if we look at this, well, then we'll do our predictions as we always do. I think last week we predicted like 2-1, and I think that worked because in a weird way. What do you think for these games?
Oh, I'd love to see us beat Calgary. How realistic is that? Whatever. I'm the founder of the GLCPC. 2-1.
What's your loss? Is Calgary the loss?
No, I think Rangers is a loss, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 1-1-1.
I like it.
I'm gonna say they beat New Jersey, and I'm gonna say the Flames game goes to overtime because I think it's gonna be like 1-1, and they go to OT, and then Canucks and Rangers. I have no idea, so we'll see.
That's fair. I like it.
All right, we're at the hour mark. Let's take like 2 viewer questions because we never do them because we have our times so perfectly timed up that we always end right at the hour mark. Bruce wants to talk about Halak. So we discussed last week, Halak has not played his 10 games. Or his 10 starts. Canucks have a back-to-back this week. Sunday, Monday. By the way, that Monday game's at 4:30, and there'll be Canucks After Dark that night, I assume. So that'll be fun. Will Halak get one of those games?
Oh yeah. I think he's playing New Jersey game. I really do.
I want give me Spencer Martin. Like he is. The Abbotsford Canucks got dominated the other night. I think he faced like 40 something shots and he only allowed 2 goals. And he has been on an absolute heater this year. Let me look up what are his stats at now. He's put up a 920 in the AHL thus far this season. His career best. He has 13 games, 10 wins, 1 loss, 2 overtime losses.
That is pretty good.
He has been fantastic. So why not put Halak in the press box? Maybe, right? I think it's a bad look if they do that, and we've talked about this at length a bit, and it's kind of a scummy move, but I think Spencer Martin, I want to see him play some more games. I genuinely do, because I think you might have a decent backup goalie here.
Parker, you will see Spencer Martin play more games in October of 2022.
Well, he's on an expiring contract. They have to re-sign him. Wouldn't you want to see what you got a little bit more, right? Maybe you play him a couple more times here before the trade deadline. Some teams come calling. They say, "Man, you've got a goalie. We could use a backup." And we could use a guy who's got a 958 save percentage as our backup.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's just good. He seems
it's funny.
He could be good.
A month ago, we would never be having this conversation. Oh, there's no way that we're going to get to a point where we want to consider it. But now we're 30 games away. I still think Halak plays one of those 2. I just do.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm just rooting the other way.
I know. You're smart.
All right. Any other things you want to take here?
Whatever you want. I can't even see anything.
Oh, that's good. I'm scrolling. Justin wants the thoughts on the play tonight where there was 6 guys in the corner with the puck wasn't there. The camera work on this was great too. Because on the Sportsnet feed they cut to the one camera that's like the close-up of like the legs, and you can't see the puck in there, and then it cuts back to the wide view and it's a 2-on-2, and you're like, wait, like was there a skip? Like did my feed cut out for like a minute or like for like 5 seconds or something? And Shorty's call was great. He's like, and then they're at center ice. Like, there's 6 guys back behind the play. It's like what is going on? It was hilarious. Did you notice that in real time?
I did. And Parker, where my seats are, that was the corner. So So we're watching it, and then I see something as I'm watching it. I see something out of the corner of my eye go around the boards, and then I see 4 other guys over there skating around. And I actually heard the ref yell something like, "Move,
it's gone.
It's gone." Yeah. And then the crowd, you could visibly see people convulsing, laughing so hard
Yeah.
in their chair. It was pretty funny. I've never seen that. Like you see that 2 guys or maybe 4 guys, but never 6.
You rarely have 6 in a scrum to begin with, right? And for the puck to not even be there is excellent.
Did you see I didn't see the replay. Did you see how it got out? Did they ever show?
No, they didn't really show it very well. I imagine that it just got like kicked or like smacked around and somehow no one knew, or they were acting for a little bit. I genuinely don't know.
I've seen some goofball throw, like a fan throwing a second puck on the ice and they blow it dead because there's now 2 pucks.
Yeah.
But no, this was still only 1 puck.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, it literally looked like, I was like, oh, there's like, wait, why is there 2 like, what's going on? Like, that doesn't make any sense. We'll take one more.
Sure.
We'll take one more from Kai, saying, do you think we're a soft team? You rarely see any fight or pushback from someone who's not named Shenner Burroughs. Not saying go get some goon, but we look like an easy night out against some bigger teams.
Yeah, I thought about this a lot, Parker, after Saturday night when I saw guys like Delorier from Anaheim really push our guys around. Shen gets his 6 or 7 hits a night. Burroughs can hit. On the boards, Besser, Pearson, Miller, they're decent. Hamonic, they're decent on the boards. So I wouldn't say we are soft. I would never call the Canucks soft, but I don't think that it depends if you think they need this. I don't think they're rough and tumble by any means either.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an easy thing to pick out on a team that's not doing very well. I think if you have a team that is producing, right? Use Toronto as an example. And use Toronto as an example if they hadn't failed the last like 4 years in the playoffs, right? Like I'm saying, if you put a team together that had that level of skill and was winning the amount of games that they do without the physicality really or the pushback, right? A couple guys here and there, but you don't have Mitch Marner, throwing hits after the play or anything, right? I think if you have the skill, it's easy to look past some of that. Unless your guys are getting hurt and things like that, and then people will go towards it. But I think physicality is not as important as people make it out to be. I think it's sort of used as a scapegoat a lot of the time when teams just aren't good enough to begin with, and people use that as like that's like a reason that it's that like it's like, oh, you're getting pushed around out there. It's because you're not physical enough. I was like, also because you're just not playing good, right? And you don't have the skill to back it up. So I think it can help, right? I think the physicality can help turn a game in your favor, but I think if you have a super physical team, that doesn't guarantee you anything.
Love your answer, because Patrick Alvin, he said, what's the identity of this team when he was asked that? And he says, well, we're still trying to figure out, but we know the way the league is going is speed and skill. Parker, he didn't say the league is going to big and tough or rough and tumble. He said speed and skill. And you're right. If you play with speed and skill, then you're going to expose the teams that can't skate with you or that are rough and tumble. So that's a great answer. And I agree with you. I think the Canucks got to forge their own identity and make other teams follow them as opposed to them trying to live up to some other type of prototype.
Yep. Yeah. It's a copycat league, and that can be a bad thing. You can end up behind the curve that way.
Sure.
All right. I think we should wrap it up there. Let's get this banner off my page. Thank you guys very much for joining us. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe and hit like. There'll be a podcast version of this up shortly. Clay, any parting words for the night?
Well, Parker, thanks for accommodating me and my very boring background, but at least we made it work. And full capacity, 1-1 now. I'm just really pumped for this Thursday game. It's what do you call it? A measuring stick game, litmus test, or just we got to beat the team.
It's a tough game.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. But overall, no, I'm depending on if you want the Canucks to make the playoffs or not. As we're getting entertained today, it was entertaining, and I expect to see more of the same on Thursday.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys very much, and we will talk to you guys next week.